Right, next one. Your team is 1 up, 1 back versus the opponents both up. Now, worst case, we're going to be defending. Best case, we're going to be neutral. Let's look at worst case scenario. Once again, you're on defense, communicate, hitter, stay alive, non-hitter, go to the T. So yes, let's give an example. 2Y. Y hits the drop volley. You're probably on defense. D says mine. B goes for it. Tries to stay alive, just do what you can. A now is on defense and will probably go to this T. I don't think they have time to go to this T. So here's an example. A hits a cross-court shot to Y. Y hits a drop volley. A says, got it. B goes for it, excuse me. B on defense. A either going to go to this T or this T. That's in this defensive mode in this situation. Any questions in the defend mode in the beginning versus middle?
While we get people to ask a question about that, quick question I missed from the previous slide. Ross was just wondering why 3 shuffle steps and then 2 back.
Good, I was waiting for that. Come on, guys, you got to see stuff right now.
It was my fault, man.
Just kidding. All right, generally speaking, what I've noticed is people take bigger steps when they back up. It's more of a defensive mode. So I've noticed people normally have smaller steps going in, and somehow when they back up, they actually largen their shuffle step back. That's the reason I came with 3 forward, 2 back. That's the reason for that. We tried 3-3, it's too much work. See, one thing you want to worry about B is, B typically in this mode and phase of play does 2 things. They just stand put here and just watch life go by and their head moving like Stevie Wonder, just watching the ball go by. Or B, they run their tail off and they run out of gas. 3 steps forward, 2 steps back is enough to keep them going, yet not too much to get tired or too little to fall off to sleep. This 3 forward, 2 back has worked really well for me. Hope that answered the question.
Yeah, that was great. And Thomas was wondering, in the situation you just described where B covers the drop volley, why doesn't A switch all the way to the other side of the court as opposed to just stopping at the T?
Good. Now, anytime you make moves, okay, your positioning is based on the geometry of the court and the opponent's tendencies and patterns. Right now, you and I, A and B, have no clue on X and Y. We've never played them before. Okay? So because we don't know them, we do know the geometry of the court. B goes for it. Now, let's say A switches all the way across, right? A is over there, B is over there. Do you see the hole? Do you guys see the hole? Right there, right there. Who's going to get that shot? Forget it, that's done. Who's going to get this shot down the middle? So I've noticed, I tell people, you may notice a trend. Then you make adjustments. So here's an example. Let me use X and Y. Oh wait, I will use X and Y later as an example. Does that answer your question? So a T, okay, remember I said there's nothing right or wrong. It's all consequences. So going to the T is a geometric consequence based on the geometry of the court. As the match goes on, if you see trends and patterns, you then make adjustments. In fact, I'm going to demonstrate going to the T on defense later on in the next mode. So does that answer the question?
I believe so. Yeah, Thomas says he gets it. So it sounds to me what you're laying out is you basically have kind of a starting template.
Thank you.
And then from there you evolve.
Yes. Now my template is what I call GTO: geometry, target area, and opponent. Right. If I took all of you to Africa, that's where my homeland is, and we were to play there, would you agree the only thing we know is the dimensions of the court? We know the dimensions on this side of the court, which is what I call geotactics, which is what we're addressing today, G, geometry, T, target areas, where you want to aim on this side of the court. Those 2 things will never change. The court in Zimbabwe is the same as the court here. So I like to teach geometry on your side of the court, target area on your side of the court, and this is another topic, and then you consider the opponent. So today we're talking geotactics based on geometry. Does that make sense? Geometry doesn't work, change your targeting. Targeting doesn't work, then you change based on opponent's tendencies and patterns. Questions?
Yep, sounds good. People seem to no questions so far. Why don't we keep going, and then I'll keep an eye on the chat.
All righty. So beginning versus middle. Worst case, you're defending. This is your software package when you're defending. If you're one up, one back, at best, you're going to be neutral. Okay? Now, the hitter in this situation is A. B is the non-hitter. Ready for this one now. You're neutral. You're not defending. We're just trying to stay alive. You're neutral, so you can control this ball. Now, listen to what I'm saying here now. Hit to the same side of your team weight. Your team right now is balanced on this side of the court. Do you agree? You're on this side of the court. Now, so your team weight is on the right-hand side or the deuce side of the court. If A hits the ball to Y, based on geometry, look how B is vulnerable. So what I advocate based on geometry is if you're in a neutral position in the beginning versus the middle mode, player A needs to hit to X, who's on the same side of our team weight. Now, when I say player A hitting to X, you've got certain target areas you could hit. You can aim for the alley. You can go right at them. You can go down the middle toward X, or A can lob. So I think Tom asked that question. So A, what's nice now is B knows that we're in neutral, and non-verbally, B knows through being phase-alive that A is going to hit the ball to the same side. Now it's A's choice, based on what they're comfortable with, on going at X, right at X, playing for the hip, lobbing over X over the backhand side, going down the alley, or going down the middle. So same side means going toward X, but you've got those four choices: down the alley, at them, a lob, or down the middle toward X. So by doing this, you're giving X less angles to hit the ball. And notice, and remember, B is now closer toward the T. So you've got these areas covered. If you go to Y, you're leaving more angles. So we addressed geometry and we addressed targets. Now let's say X happens to be Federer and Y happens to be me. I think Federer is slightly stronger than me. So now, based on this, Team AB can say, hey, if we go same side based on geometry, player X, Fed, is a lot stronger than Y. So let's deviate from the geometry of the court and let's pick on the opponent. Go to Y. Why? Because Faisal is weaker. The consequence is Faisal that weak that we can afford to give him the angles? That is your choice. So once again, we're addressing the geometry. In a neutral position, the hitter, A, is going to try to hit the ball to the same side of the court. Lob over X, down the alley, at them, or down the middle. Your choice. The non-hitter now, typically, the non-hitter is facing square to Y. I'd like the non-hitter angled off facing X. So this is my right foot at an angle. This is my left foot. I'm at a diagonal stance, pointing, facing the opposing hitter. This will have a better angle to cut the balls off. So that's what happens in a neutral mode if you're in the beginning versus the middle mode and you're neutral. Once again, this tactical box here is just pertaining to the geometry of the court. We do not know X and Y from a bar of soap. We're going with geotactics and choosing target areas based on hitting it on the same side. Any questions?
Yeah, so two questions, and we'll go reverse chronological. Thomas is wondering if this situation you're describing is basically A and B, team A and B would be returning for the most part, and Y is served and volleyed. So you get in the, this might be after the return first volley, and now.
Correct. So this beginning versus middle has arisen from before we started off this way, correct? So Y maybe chose to serve and volley, and we're now in this situation, okay? Or we started off beginning versus beginning, and then at some point, it's what I call plan B. So plan A is one up, one back throughout the point. Plan B is Y stays back and then chooses the right time to come in via the invitation. Or plan C is Y serves and volley. So we started off here, and whichever way Y came in, serve and volley, or stayed back and chose the right time to come in, that's how they got to that mode.
Cool. And Ross wonders, at least I believe his question relates to A in this situation. So you've got Y and X up at the net, and A's got a shot, and most likely is going to go at X. And Ross is wondering if there's a particular high percentage shot, whether that means going in between Y and X, whether going the alley or maybe going up top with a lob.
Okay, now when I train beginning mode, A, B in this mode, or A, B in that mode, I want players, like let's talk player A. I want player A to really know who they are. As in, I'm a baseliner, am I an opportunistic baseliner? Am I an aggressive baseliner? Or am I a retriever? So if A is a retriever, what do you think retrievers like to do? Lob a lot, correct? So I leave it up to A to decide what shot is best for them to hit to X. Now, if I'm an aggressive baseliner, A is an aggressive baseliner, you may want to drive it down the alley or at them. But you got to realize the harder you hit, if they get it back, the quicker it comes back. So I leave the shot selection for this hitter, A, totally based on what they're comfortable with. If they want to retrieve and lob their tail off, if they want to be an aggressive baseliner, if they want to be a counter puncher, I train that. So this way they get a sense of that. So it's totally open-ended on what A is comfortable doing to hitting it on the same side toward X.
Faisal, would you have any generic advice? Let's say just forehand versus backhand in this situation.
Now, the advice I have is, once again, now this is geometry. We're talking about target area. Now you're talking about the opponent. Yes. Now, my generic idea is, I tell people, a lot of times you could have target areas on the court, or you could have target areas on the opponent. Let me explain. You could go toward their feet. I call that the dip. You could go toward their hips. I call that the drive. Assuming this is a right-hander, if I lob, try to lob on their backhand side. So I actually tell players, if you want to go for the opponent, you have 5 target areas. If you want to use the opponent as a target, I'm going to use player X. Player X is a right-handed player. I can go to their right foot or their left foot. That's a dip. I can go toward the right hip or the left hip. That's the drive. Or I can lob over their left shoulder, which is the backhand side, which is more difficult. So those are the target areas you can use based on the opponent. Or once again, you can use the court target areas. The alley, at them, down the middle, or the generic lob. So I use 2 options here for player A. And then I tell player A, you pick and stick with what target you're comfortable with doing and getting it in consistently. You go with what you're comfortable in that situation.
Yeah, I can. For people wondering, I can at least talk about my experience. I'm a lefty, but I'm player A. Typically, I play the deuce court, and in this situation, if I get a backhand, which will for me be in the alley, I'll probably go cross court at Y's backhand. Yeah, exactly, down the middle, assuming a righty, because my backhand is flatter. So I typically like to have a longer court to work with. And on my forehand, I'll often, a lot of tops on my forehand, I'll often dip it low to X's backhand. And because the ball is closer to the middle of the court, I'm a little bit safer on that shot. I'm not flirting with the sideline quite as much. And then what often happens is I'll either get, if I hit a good enough shot, I'll get a sitter, and then I just basically try and tattoo X because, you know, nothing wrong with headhunting. Or if I get, sometimes you get those dribbly kind of volleys where you hit a good shot and then the guy gets it back, but it's sort of a short ball. That's often when I'll lob X. I'll try and go over his backhand shoulder because they'll kind of close the net a little bit on those short balls when I was trying to go up top. But that's my personal style, and it fits with what I like to do. And Faisal, what I'm hearing from you is it kind of fits what you like to do and what your opponents are good at.
Thank you. Now, Will, what I like what you put is, notice Will, as player A, already has a couple of patterns of play in his mind. If he gets his backhand being a lefty, he likes to drive it to this over here. If he gets that forehand, he likes to go for that foot. So once again, once you get the hang of this mode, work on your patterns of play that you as player A are comfortable doing. Once again, what's the best play to take the least possible risk? It's all about reducing your unforced errors. And that's a good point there, Will.